The rain pounded against my window like it was trying to break into my life, each drop a reminder of the chaos I'd been dodging for weeks. I was 19, sprawled on my bed in a cramped apartment in Burlington, Vermont, staring at the ceiling as if it held answers to questions I was too scared to ask. Then I heard it, a soft creak, not the storm, but something closer, something inside. My heart lurched. I sat up, eyes darting to the shadowed corner of my room. There he was, Elliot Harper, all 6 feet of him, soaked to the bone, his dark hair plastered to his forehead, his blue eyes glinting like a storm of their own. He shouldn't have been there. He couldn't be there. Not after everything. Elliot, I whispered, my voice cracking like the thunder outside. What the hell are you doing here? He didn't answer right away. He just stood there, dripping onto my hardwood floor, his leather jacket glistening under the dim glow of my desk lamp. The air between us felt electric, heavy with all the things we'd never said. 2 months ago, we'd been inseparable, best friends since freshman year at the University of Vermont, sharing late-night coffee runs, stupid inside jokes, and secrets nobody else knew. Until that night at the lake, when his hand lingered too long on mine, and I bolted like a coward. "I needed to see you, Theo," he said finally, his voice low, rough, like he'd been fighting to get those words out. I couldn't wait anymore. I wanted to yell at him, to demand why he'd risk everything, his reputation, his family, this fragile thing between us, by sneaking into my room at 2 a.m. But the truth was, I was terrified. Terrified of what it meant that my pulse raced at the sight of him, that my chest ached with something deeper than friendship. Growing up in a small town outside Burlington, I'd learned early to keep my head down, to hide the parts of me that didn't fit the mold. Being black and queer in a place like that, you might as well paint a target on your back. So I'd buried it, locked it away, told myself I could live without knowing what his lips tasted like. Elliot took a step closer, and I flinched. "Don't," I said, but it came out weak, like I was begging myself more than him. He stopped, his hands clenching at his sides, but his eyes never left mine. They were relentless, peeling back every layer I'd built to keep him out. "You're mad," he said. "I get it. I shouldn't have come. But, Theo, I can't keep pretending. Not after the lake. Not after you looked at me like—" He trailed off, swallowing hard. "Like you felt it too." My throat tightened. The lake. That humid July night, fireflies flickering, the water lapping at the shore. We'd been drinking cheap beer, laughing about nothing, until the silence stretched too long, and his fingers brushed mine. I'd frozen, my heart pounding so loud I thought he'd hear it. Then I'd run, left him there without a word, because admitting I wanted him felt like stepping off a cliff. "I don't know what you're talking about," I lied, standing now, my hands shaking. "You need to leave." He didn't move. "You're lying," he said softly. "I know you, Theo. I know you better than anyone." That was the problem. He did know me, every fear, every dream, every crack in my armor. Elliot Harper, the golden boy of our college, the one who could charm anyone with his easy smile and sharp wit. He was white, confident, the kind of guy who could walk into any room and own it. I was the opposite, quiet, guarded, always waiting for the world to remind me I didn't belong. Yet somehow we'd clicked, until he'd crossed a line I wasn't ready to face. "Elliot, you can't just—" I started, but a loud knock on the door cut me off. My stomach dropped. My roommate, Jamal, was supposed to be at his girlfriend's place tonight. If it wasn't him, then who? "Theo," a voice called, sharp, female, and way too familiar. My older sister, Nia. Of all the times for her to show up unannounced. Elliot's eyes widened. "You expecting someone?" he whispered. "No," I hissed, shoving him toward the closet. "Hide. Now." He hesitated, then slipped inside, pulling the door shut just as Nia knocked again. I opened the door, forcing a smile. Nia stood there, her braids pulled back, her nurse's scrubs wrinkled from a long shift. At 25, she was my fiercest protector, but also the nosiest person I knew. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, narrowing her eyes as she stepped inside. "What's going on?" "Nothing," I said too quickly. "Just studying." She snorted, glancing around. "Studying, huh? With the lights dim and your books closed?" Her gaze landed on the wet spot on the floor where Elliot had stood. My heart stopped. "Spilled some water," I muttered, grabbing a towel to wipe it up. Nia didn't buy it. She never did. But she didn't push. Instead, she dropped onto my couch, kicking off her sneakers. "I'm crashing here tonight," she said. "Hospital's got me on back-to-back shifts, and my place is too far. You got any food?" I nodded, my mind racing. Elliot was still in the closet, probably hearing every word. How was I supposed to get him out without Nia noticing? And why did the thought of him leaving make my chest hurt? As Nia rummaged through my fridge, I glanced at the closet. I could still feel his presence, like a current running through the room. I'd spent months running from what I felt for him, but now he was here, and there was no escaping it. Not anymore. The rain hadn't let up, and neither had the tension knotting my stomach. Nia was sprawled on my couch, scrolling through her phone, oblivious to the fact that Elliot was 6 feet away, crammed into a closet with my old hoodies and a skateboard I hadn't touched in years. I stood in the kitchenette, pretending to make coffee, but my hands shook as I poured water into the machine. Every creak of the floorboards felt like a betrayal, threatening to give him away. "You're acting weird," Nia said without looking up. "Weirder than usual." I forced a laugh, but it sounded hollow. "Long day, that's all." She raised an eyebrow, her nurse's instincts kicking in. Nia could spot a lie from a mile away, and I was a terrible liar. "Theo, if something's up, you know you can tell me. I'm your sister." Her words hit harder than I expected. Nia had always been my rock. When our dad walked out, when Mom worked double shifts to keep us afloat, when I came out to her at 16 and she hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. But this thing with Elliot? It was too raw, too new, too terrifying to put into words. "I'm fine," I said, turning away to hide my face. The coffee machine gurgled, filling the silence. I glanced at the closet again, wondering what Elliot was thinking. Was he regretting coming here? Did he feel the same panic I did? Or was he still reckless enough to think this could end well? Nia's phone buzzed, and she groaned. "Work. They need me back in an hour. You sure you're okay if I crash here?" "Yeah, no problem," I said too fast. "Get her out. Get her out," my brain chanted. But Nia wasn't one to rush. She stretched, then wandered toward my desk, picking up a framed photo of me and Elliot from last summer, a hiking trip in the Green Mountains. We were grinning, arms slung around each other, the sun turning his hair to gold. "Cute," she said, smirking. "You and your boy still tight." My face burned. "He's not my boy," I snapped, then winced at how defensive I sounded. Nia's smirk faded. "Okay, touchy. What's up with you two? You've been dodging him for weeks." I opened my mouth to deny it, but a soft thud came from the closet. My heart stopped. Nia's head whipped toward the sound, her eyes narrowing. "What was that?" she asked, already moving toward the closet. "Nothing," I practically shouted, stepping in front of her. "Just my skateboard. It falls over sometimes." She stared at me, unconvinced. "Theo, you're a terrible liar. What's in there?" Before I could answer, the closet door creaked open, and Elliot stepped out, his hands raised like he was surrendering. "It's just me," he said, his voice steady despite the tension in his jaw. "Sorry for the sneaking." Nia's jaw dropped. "Elliot? What the? Why are you hiding in my brother's closet?" I wanted to disappear. Elliot, though, just gave her that charming smile of his, the one that could defuse any situation. "Long story," he said. "Mind if I borrow Theo for a bit?" Nia looked between us, her expression shifting from confusion to suspicion. You two need to explain this. Now. I shot Elliot a glare, but he didn't flinch. Give us a minute, Nia, he said, softer this time. Please. She hesitated, then sighed. Fine, but I'm not leaving until I get answers. She grabbed her phone and headed to the bathroom, muttering something about needing a shower. The second the door clicked shut, I rounded on Elliot. Are you insane? You could have stayed hidden. I'm done hiding, he said, his voice sharp with something I couldn't place. Anger, maybe, or desperation. I'm done pretending I don't feel what I feel, Theo. And I think you are too. His words hit like a punch. I wanted to argue, to push him away, but the truth was clawing its way out of me. I'd spent so long running from him, that I didn't know how to stop. You don't get it, I said, my voice breaking. This isn't just about you and me. It's my family, my life, everything I've worked for. If people find out, then let them. He cut in, stepping closer. I'm not ashamed of this. Of us. There is no us, I shot back, but the words tasted like ash. Because there was an us. There always had been, even if I'd never said it out loud. Elliot's eyes softened, and he reached for my hand. I didn't pull away this time. His touch was warm, grounding, and for a moment, the storm outside faded. Theo, he said, barely above a whisper. I'm in love with you. The world tilted. I'd imagined him saying those words 1,000 times, in 1,000 different ways, but hearing them now, in my tiny apartment with the rain hammering down, felt like a lightning strike. I opened my mouth to respond, but the bathroom door swung open, and Nia stepped out, her hair wrapped in a towel. Okay, she said, crossing her arms. Somebody better start talking. Nia's stare could have burned a hole through steel. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her towel slipping slightly as she waited for one of us to break the silence. My mouth was dry, my pulse hammering in my ears. Elliot's confession hung in the air like smoke, impossible to ignore, and now my sister was here, demanding answers I wasn't ready to give. Elliot was just dropping off some notes, I said lamely, avoiding her eyes. Nia snorted. At 2 a.m.? In a storm? Try again, Theo. Elliot stepped forward, his jaw tight. It's my fault, he said. I came to talk to Theo about something personal. I didn't mean to cause a scene. Nia's eyes flicked between us, sharp and calculating. She wasn't just my sister. She was a nurse who'd seen every kind of lie in the ER. Personal, huh? She said, her tone softening just a fraction. Theo, you know you don't have to hide stuff from me. Not after everything we've been through. Her words stung. She was right. We'd always been honest with each other. When I came out to her, she'd cried with me, not because she was ashamed, but because she knew how hard it was for me to say it. But this wasn't just about me. It was about Elliot, about the world we lived in, about the risks of letting myself want something I'd been taught to fear. I'm not hiding, I said, but my voice shook. I need time. Nia's expression softened, but before she could respond, her phone buzzed again. She glanced at it, cursing under her breath. Hospital. They need me back now. Theo, we're talking about this later. She pointed at Elliot. You too, Harper. Don't think you're off the hook. She grabbed her bag and headed for the door, pausing to give me a quick hug. I love you, okay? Whatever's going on, I've got your back. Then she was gone, leaving me and Elliot alone again. The silence was deafening. I turned to him, my emotions a tangled mess. You can't just say stuff like that, I said, my voice low. You can't just show up and drop a bomb like, I'm in love with you, and expect me to know what to do with it. Elliot ran a hand through his wet hair, frustration etched into every line of his face. I'm not expecting you to have all the answers, Theo, but I'm tired of waiting for you to figure it out. I've been in love with you for years. Every time we hung out, every time you laughed at one of my dumb jokes, every time you looked at me like I was more than just your friend, It killed me to keep it inside. His words were a knife, cutting through every defense I'd built. I wanted to tell him I felt the same, that I'd lain awake nights imagining what it would be like to kiss him, to hold him, to not be afraid. But fear was a powerful thing, and it had its claws in me deep. "I'm scared," I admitted, my voice barely audible. "You don't know what it's like, Elliot. You don't know what it means to be me, to carry this weight. People look at you and see someone who belongs. Me? I'm always fighting to prove I do." He stepped closer, his eyes fierce. "You think I don't get that? I know I'll never understand what it's like to walk in your shoes, Theo. But I see you. I've always seen you. And I'm not going anywhere, no matter how hard you push me away." Before I could respond, he closed the distance between us, his hand cupping my face. His touch was gentle but sure, and when his lips met mine, the world stopped. It wasn't a perfect movie kiss. It was messy, desperate, full of all the things we'd been holding back. But it was real, and it was ours. When we pulled apart, I was shaking. "This changes everything," I whispered. "I know," he said, his forehead resting against mine. "But we'll figure it out. Together." The next few days were a blur. Elliot and I didn't talk about the kiss, but it lingered in every glance, every accidental touch. We met up in secret, at the park, in empty coffee shops, anywhere we could steal a moment without the world watching. But Burlington wasn't a big city, and secrets had a way of getting out. It started with a whisper. A classmate saw us at the park, hands brushing as we walked. By the end of the week, the rumors were everywhere. Theo and Elliot. People said, their voices dripping with curiosity or judgment or both. My phone buzzed with texts from friends, some supportive, some not. My mom called, her voice tight with worry. "Is it true?" she asked. "Are you with him?" I didn't know how to answer. I wanted to tell her everything, to make her understand, but the words wouldn't come. Elliot, though, was fearless. He didn't care who saw us, who talked. "Let them stare," he'd say, his hand finding mine under the table. But I wasn't like him. Every whisper felt like a blade, every stare a reminder that I'd never be just Theo anymore. The rumors spread like wildfire, and by the end of the month, they'd reached my mom's church group. She called me again, her voice trembling. "Theo, people are talking. They're saying things about you and that boy. I don't care what you are, but I'm scared for you. This world, it's not kind to people like us." Her words broke something in me. She wasn't wrong. I'd seen the looks, heard the slurs whispered behind my back. Being black was hard enough. Being queer on top of that felt like daring the world to come for me. But then I thought of Elliot, his laugh, his courage, the way he made me feel like I could be enough. I couldn't lose that, not even for the world's approval. I met him at our spot in the park, under the same autumn tree where we'd first admitted we were more than friends. The leaves were falling now, a carpet of red and gold beneath our feet. He was waiting for me, his hands stuffed in his pockets, his smile tentative but warm. "You okay?" he asked, reading my face like he always did. "No," I said honestly, "but I'm here." He reached for my hand, and this time, I didn't pull away. We sat on the bench, the one with "Love Finds a Way" carved into it, and I told him everything. My mom's fears, the rumors, the weight of it all. He listened, his thumb tracing circles on my palm, and when I was done, he leaned in and kissed me, soft and sure. "We don't have to do this alone," he said. "I know it's hard, Theo. I know it's scary, but I'm all in. Are you?" I looked at him, at the boy who'd sneaked into my room and turned my world upside down. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of the fall. "Yeah," I said, my voice steady. "I'm in." The months that followed weren't easy. We faced stares, whispers, even a few ugly confrontations. My mom came around slowly, her love for me stronger than her fear. Nia, true to her word, had our backs, shutting down anyone who dared say a word against us. And Elliot? He was my anchor, my partner, my home. One night, as we lay in my bed, the rain soft against the window, I realized something. The world hadn't changed. It was still messy, still cruel in places, but I wasn't hiding anymore. I was living, fully and unapologetically, for the first time in my life. Elliot stirred beside me, his arm draped over my chest. "What are you thinking about?" he mumbled, half asleep. I smiled, pressing a kiss to his forehead. "That I'm glad you sneaked into my room that night." He laughed, soft and warm, and pulled me closer. "Me too, Theo. Me too." And as the rain fell, I knew we'd face whatever came next, together. Because love, real love, doesn't just sneak in. It stays, it fights, and it builds a world worth living in.